So what I want you to do is take the 2-inch tape.
Yes, you already told me.
Put it around the edge here. All right, you might have to wipe that off. It might have Armor All or something on it. Who knows? Okay, because this started out as just painting the outside of the car. That's all we were supposed to do. I specifically told them I'm not painting jams. For the price I gave you, we're not going to paint the jams. We're not taking body parts off. We're not going to do any of that. Now the windshield I will not be taking off. These screws, I don't know if anybody knows about these torque screws, but they are a pain in the ass to get off, especially on a Jeep that's this old. Very, very hard. So we're going to be leaving the windshield on there, and we possibly might be able to paint the inside of that if we can get these off right here. And you can see what kind of torques those are. I'm sure everybody's seen them. Got to have a special one for that one. So yeah, I don't think my friend Pete's got any of those, but we will get what we need to do the job. And what Minnie's doing right now is what?
Taping off the fenders so you don't scratch them.
Yeah, I don't want to scratch those. They were supposed to come off. Steve, Mr. Volkswagen Steve, opted out to be on video on this little set.
I don't blame him.
Okay. And the reason is because I'm kind of mad about that. I asked him to take everything off. He didn't take everything off. I ended up doing a lot of the work myself. But now what we got to do is we got to get on with the situation of what this video is all about. Can we do that?
I'd rather you put the camera down and get you to sand it.
Okay, and we're going to do that, exactly. But I want to show everybody what's going on here. So what we got here is a Jeep. This is a 4x4 Jeep. It's a Jeep that's made by Jeep Company, owned by the Chrysler Corporation. 4-cylinder Jeep. It's got big fat tires on it, and it looks pretty cool and actually has a lot of torque and power to it. I wouldn't mind having that if I was already out in Moab, Utah. I'm thinking about possibly getting one of these just to cruise around and have some fun with. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here to talk about that. We're not here to talk about that because what we're doing is we are repainting this car. I'm sorry, I said car, Jeep, okay? Is a Jeep a car or a truck? Do you got an answer for that? Would that be considered a car or a truck or just in its own class saying Jeep?
I think it's in its own class.
Yeah, possibly in its own class. So we got the Jeep, and what this video is about, it's for all you guys at home that want to paint your cars, but you don't want to spend a lot of money on it. You don't want to spend a lot of time on it. And I call them scuff and paints. Now, the reason I'm calling it a scuff and paint is because we're doing very minimal, minor body work. And that's basically the only body work we had is right here on this door opening where your foot would come up and hit it right there. We had some minor dents on the hood that were very noticeable, so I went ahead and took those out. And then the same situation over here on the driver's side where I guess you would hit it with your foot, or maybe somebody jacked it up there or something, who knows. Yeah, that's the only dents we're fixing on this. Now, there might be other body damage somewhere on it, but that's pretty much basically the major stuff, and that's all we're going to do. So we went ahead and fixed that. And now we're actually into the lesson of how to paint your car or truck or possibly Jeep as a scuff and paint at home in possibly 2 or 3 days. Get her done, do it right, my friend Pete style.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So to start this little journey off, we're here on a Saturday morning, possibly like you are on a Saturday, thinking, wow, I want to paint my car, I want it looking good. I'm tired of the old paint job, but I want to do it professionally so it's going to last a very long time and be a professional paint job. So the first thing we did, if you look over here, we did dismantle all the body parts, the bolt-on body parts. I took the the rear deck lid off, I took the 2 doors off, and I took the hood off. Now, if you're working on a truck or a car instead of a Jeep, you might ought to think about that twice before you go doing that, due to the electric doors and all the electricals in the doors and the doors, okay? Because the doors will be a pain in the ass if you want to take them off. You might ought to think about possibly making a 2-weekend job out of this and sanding all your door jambs, painting those, and then coming back the following week and then painting the outside of the car versus doing this. Now on this Jeep, you can see this is painted inside and out the same color, and I believe Steve is going to rhino line the inside, but we wanted to go ahead and get these jambs, and I like to do a professional job. That's what this is about. So I decided to go ahead and take all the panels off of the vehicle. It started out that we weren't going to, but then on the other hand, I thought it would look pretty tacky if you didn't, so we went ahead and did it that way. So now that all the body parts are removed, we went ahead and removed the tail lights and all of the accessory stuff on the body of the vehicle and other stuff that's been dismantled along the way. We have now stripped it down and it is ready to start prepping for paint. And the first thing we want to do is we want to start by removing all of the emblems or slash decals. And if you look right here in this area, you're going to see that there is a decal on that. On the Jeeps, they're more of a sticker type instead of the big decals that you would see on other vehicles, the big chrome emblems. These are more of a decal, not an emblem. And what I got here is I got a razor blade. Now, this is a handle that you can purchase. This is a very nice tool to have. You can see that it's a folding, locking scraper blade, and what you do is when the blade goes dull, you go ahead and replace that. And I have a couple of these. I've had them for many years, work very well, and they're very nice. So we want to take our razor blade, and you want to be very careful not to gouge the paint as you're removing the sticker, decal, or emblem off of your vehicle. If you have emblems, you might want to use instead of using a scraper blade, you might want to use a putty knife on that. There you go. I'm sorry. I'm concentrating on not scratching the paint as I'm doing this. But use a putty knife to get behind your emblems and it should come off. Now if you're taking emblems off, you're going to need another product. There it is right there. So you want to get some of this, and then what you would do, you would take that and then you would pour it on here just like this. You can see how it's running down. And it will not harm your paint. This is designed for the use of removing all-purpose adhesive cleaner, which will remove the adhesive residue on it and also remove the double-sided tape on the back of your emblems. And then now that that's removed, we're ready to start block sanding this down and prepping it for paint. Now, what you saw Minnie doing is these have fender flares on them. All right, this is a fender flare and it's made out of plastic. We're not going to paint these, and the owner requested don't remove them because they're a pain in the ass and he doesn't want to have to go back in there and remove them from underneath because it's full of mud and grit and dirt. So I had Minnie take some 2-inch tape, and what she did, she went along this edge right here, and the reason she did that is because I'm going to start sanding this using my D.I.Y sander. Now when you hear the word D.I.Y sander, you're thinking possibly of a sander like this. This is a high torque and it's a long throw D.I.Y sander. When I say long throw, what I'm talking about is that section right in there that you're seeing move. It actually has a very long diameter of a orbital spin to it, which is giving it that back and forth motion, but at the same time it's spinning. That's where you get the dual action. So this is the type of D.I.Y that you're thinking about when I said I was going to come and D.I.Y everything down. But that's not what we're going to do. What we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and use this D.I.Y sander right here, which is called a finished D.I.Y sander, and it's also a palm sander. Now the palm sander is a good sander because the palm sander is, you have more control, it's a one-hand operation, and you also have a variable speed switch, which is hidden inside here, right there like that, which you can regulate your speed, because we don't want to use this on super high speed, because what happens is when we are prepping this car up for paint, we don't want to remove the paint, we just want to block sand it down. Now there will be spots where paint will be removed, but that's okay. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to fix that. But this is the sander that you want to use when I say DA sander, because if you look, hello, what's going on over there? Okay, Minnie's trying to work, so we'll have to talk over her working. But if you look at this DA sander, this is called a short throw. That means that the throw on the orbital part of this, it's very, very short like this, but yet on the other hand, it still has that dual action mechanism to it. And what that'll do, that will give us some more of a finish sanding than a rough sanding that we would use, let's say, for body work or primer. So if we look at the back of this paper right here, you're going to see where it says 320. I'm sorry, it's upside down. You're going to see where it says 320. That's what you want to use. Now, a lot of people are thinking, well, why wouldn't you wet sand that? We don't need to wet sand this. The finish on this is original. This finish is a nice, even, clean finish, and the finish is perfect for a repaint. It's never been repainted before. Now, if you have a vehicle that has been painted before, that's a whole different story and a whole different ball of wax. But if it's only been painted 0 times, just once like this, or possibly one other time, this is called a scuff and paint. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a car that's 40 years old and you want to block it down and then paint it. And it's already been painted 6 times. All right? That is not a scuff and paint. That is what you call a because it will never look proper and it'll never look right. So this little video set is for people out there that have a vehicle that possibly has only been painted possibly one other time, no more than that, and it's got 2 different colors of paint on it, maximum. This is the original color, and this is how we're going to do it. I want to make that real square with everybody out there before we go any further. If you have a 1960 Chevy Impala, and it's been painted 5 times, and you're going to say, oh, I want to paint it, this is a quick way to do it. You can do it this way. You can. Am I right, Minnie?
Yep.
But what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
It will look like crap, and it will probably end up peeling in places.
It's going to peel off. It's going to be orange peely. It's going to be ugly, and it'll look flat. It'll never have a high gloss
It'll
finish.
look like crap. You will regret it.
And the reason Minnie says it's going to look like crap is because once you get so much paint buildup on, so much material on the item that you're painting, it becomes so porous that no matter what you do to it, it'll just keep penetrating and penetrating. It's like a sponge. So the more material that you put on it, the less quality that you're going to have. Now, having the original finish like this, and being the year that this is, this makes a good quote unquote primer. That's what we're going to call this. It's going to be a primer because it's the original paint, never been painted before, and the paint is in really good condition. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and I hope I cleared everything up on that, so if you do have an older car, before we go any further, don't take this video as, oh, I'm going to do it like my friend Pete, and it's going to look like a brand new car. It's not. This is only for cars that have possibly been painted 1 time, original, or maybe maximum 2. So I just want to make that clear. If you do have an older car, you're going to have to go through the extreme of possibly stripping it down to bare metal and redoing bodywork like you've seen in so many of my videos in the past. So what we're going to do to start this out is we are going to actually use our short throw palm hand sander. Remember that. If I use this sander here, it's going to put deep scratches in it. It's going to have swirl marks, and you're going to have little DA scratches everywhere in the vehicle. We don't want that. It's a must that you use this sander right here and not the big boy. Where's my air? Can you get my air for me, please, so we can get this going?
Yep.
All right. Now, before we go any further, I want to make sure that everybody's understood that safety is the first thing in mind. You have to be safe, cautious. And this is called a dust mask, okay? This is a reusable dust mask, very cheap and inexpensive, and lasts a very long time. So make sure that when you're doing this, because you're going to get a lot of dust going, make sure that you have the proper equipment. Now, those little dust masks that you see, they're like paper, and they go around here, and they got those little, those really don't do nothing. Those are for like if you're painting a house or you're working on sheetrock. If you're going to use automotive sanders and you're going to be block sanding with automotive dust flying, use an automotive related type safety equipment feature. Another thing I got here is my safety glasses. That's an important issue too. Always wear your safety glasses, whatever you're doing. All it takes is a little piece of this paper to fly off of the DA and hit you in your eye, and it can blind you, believe me. So we got our safety equipment, and the first thing that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to put my mask on right away, so I don't want anybody to make a comment and say, oh, he put his mask on but he didn't wear it. The reason I'm not going to put it on at this time is because I'm going to be talking as I'm working to show you, the viewer, how it's done. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our DA sander, and instead of having it on super high, we're going to turn it down approximately halfway, and then when we put our pressure on, all right, on our DA, it's even going to make it go a little slower. Now the trick about using this DA is you got to keep it moving all the time. Let's go ahead and sand a little bit and see what happens. Remember this right here, we went ahead and put the tape on there. We're not going to literally hit that, but if we do accidentally hit it, at least it's protected and it won't ruin it. So you're going to take your DA sander, and you're going to do a nice even sand job to it. When I say a nice even sand job, you want to make sure that you overlap it properly, and you want to make sure that all the shininess is gone. Now on this particular vehicle, there's a lot of rivets. I don't know if you can see them in the picture, but there's a lot of rivets, and we're not done sanding, to let you know. This is just our first sand job, just to rough it up. But you want to make sure that you don't have any shiny spots in it, and everything is overlapped. Okay, so what you just saw me do is I went ahead and DA sanded this little section here using 320 and my palm sander, and I'm going to show you something here. You can see that the DA sandpaper does not go far. Alright, it's very important to change your sandpaper, and I got a roll here. I was just telling Minnie she's going to have to go get another roll of this before the paint store closes. Minnie?
I hear you.
It's very important to continuously change your sandpaper out so you got a nice even sand job. All depends on what brand you use and the quality of the sandpaper is how long it's going to last. Don't think that you're going to sand a whole car with 3 or 4 pieces of DA sandpaper. It's not going to happen. I will probably go through the rest of this roll right here and possibly a third of the other roll. So it's very important to make a nice even surface paint job and quality finish for your car that you continuously change your sandpaper out when needed. So now that I changed my sandpaper out on my DA sander, I'm going to go ahead and continue to sand this, and then when I reach that primer, I want to make sure that I blend this in. What I'm saying, I want to feather that out where we don't feel a lip. Basically, what you're looking at, this is our finished panel that is ready for paint. Now, if you use anything that's higher than a 320, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to come back and hand sand that down and block it out properly. If you use this sander right here with your 320 and only 320, you should have a nice paintable surface, but it's got to be a finish sander, not the high torque DA sander. That's very important. Now, if you look at this primer right here, I will be using this sander on that primer, and the reason is because that primer has got to be blocked down and got to be blocked down right. So what we're going to do on that situation is we're going to go ahead and use a piece of 180 grit sandpaper on our primer, and we're also going to use our high torque non-finishing sander, I would call this. This is just your regular typical long throw DA sander, and what that's going to do, that's going to break that primer down for us in a nice even situation, and then what will happen from there, we'll go ahead and take our finished sander. Where did it go? Okay, it's right here. I'm getting a little confused. We're going to take our finished sander with our 320, and then we'll go back over it and then that will be a paint-ready surface. And then on this particular sander right here, you're going to want to leave your pressure all the way up. You're going to want to regulate your air pressure all the way up so you get the full spin and use of the tool itself. Now that that's sanded with our long throw, we're going to take the short throw with our 320 and now that surface is ready to paint what we just showed you in this little segment of this video set. Let me finish this whole vehicle out. When I come back, I'm going to show you what the rest of the detail work is to put this into paint ready stage, and we will then proceed to put it in the paint booth, tape it off, and start throwing paint on this thing to give it a nice high quality professional scuff and paint job to our car that we want to do at home.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.